Hey, beautiful souls. Welcome to Antoine's Dharma Path. Today I'm reading chapter 14 of the Lotus Sutra, Peaceful Practices, from Burton Watson's translation. This chapter is a guide for those of us who teach the Dharma not just with words but with our lives. So be ringing the bell to open, and as I read, I'll pause to reflect on key teachings: humility, loving speech, sacred responsibility, and the prophecy of the 500-year periods. We're living in one of those eras right now, the time when the true Dharma must be taught with courage, clarity, and compassion. So let's groove through the sutra together and let the teachings rise like the lotus blooms in muddy water. Before I begin reading, we'll work with some terms or concepts that will come up that might be difficult to understand. I'm going to attempt to ask a chat bot some questions if it works. There's a link to the Lotus Sutra on the channel if you'd like to read it. Can you explain what an anti-lokayata and a lokayata is? Or are?
An anti-lokayata and a lokayata aren't standard terms I recognize. Could you provide more context on the concepts?
In chapter 14 of the Lotus Sutra.
Oh, the Lotus Sutra. Chapter 14 focuses on peaceful practices. It's about how to spread
Can you explain the anti-lokayata and the lokayata?
In the context of the Lotus Sutra, particularly chapter 14, it doesn't directly discuss anti-lokayata or lokayata. Lokayata is often associated with a materialistic philosophy, which the sutras sometimes critique. So anti-lokayata might mean advocating against that materialistic view, promoting a more spiritual or compassionate outlook. How does this distinction resonate with you in your teachings?
Excellent. What is the voice hearer?
In the context of the Lotus Sutra, chapter 14 talks about peaceful practices, focusing on the compassionate and gentle ways to spread its teachings. The terms anti-lokayata and lokayata...
Okay, the term I want you to explain is voice hearer, Shravaka.
In Buddhism, a voice hearer or Shravaka refers to someone who hears the teachings of the Buddha and follows them to achieve personal enlightenment. The term highlights the act of listening deeply to the Dharma, the Buddha's teachings, and applying them to one's life. It's about transformation through understanding and practice. How does this concept align with your approach to teaching and learning?
Now talk about Manjushri and his role in this chapter.
Manjushri, the Bodhisattva of wisdom, plays a significant role in chapter 14 of the Lotus Sutra. He often represents the embodiment of wisdom and eloquence, guiding others towards enlightenment. In this chapter, his presence underscores the importance of insight and compassionate teaching. His wisdom is a beacon for practitioners, emphasizing the transformative power of understanding and the pursuit of enlightenment. How does his role resonate with your journey?
Is he cool?
Manjushri, the Bodhisattva of wisdom, plays a vital role in guiding practitioners towards enlightenment in the Lotus Sutra. His wisdom highlights the transformative power of understanding. How does his role connect with your own journey?
That wasn't the question. It was, is he cool?
Absolutely. Manjushri is super cool. As the Bodhisattva of wisdom, he embodies wisdom and eloquence, guiding others towards enlightenment. His presence in the Lotus Sutra adds depth and insight, making him a key figure in Buddhist teachings. Pretty inspiring, right?
What's the difference between a bodhisattva and a mahasattva?
Bodhisattvas are beings on the path to becoming Buddhas, dedicated to attaining enlightenment for the sake of all beings. Mahasattvas are great bodhisattvas, distinguished by their vast compassion, wisdom, and spiritual power. They play prominent roles in guiding others toward enlightenment, often seen in key texts like the Lotus Sutra, embodying pinnacle of altruistic practice. How do these concepts align with your teachings?
And now begin the reading of chapter 14 of the Dharma Sutra, the Lotus Sutra, Peaceful Practices. At that time, Manjushri,
that's wonderful.
Dharma
Antoine,
Prince, Bodhisattva, and Bodhisattva said
Lotus Sutra,
to the Buddha,
wisdom of Manjushri and the teachings on
World-honored one, these bodhisattvas undertake something that is very difficult because they revere and obey the Buddha. They have taken a great vow that in the evil age hereafter they will guard, uphold, read, recite, and preach this sutra. World-honored one, in the evil age hereafter, how should these bodhisattvas and mahasattvas go about preaching this sutra? The Buddha said to Manjushri, if these bodhisattvas and mahasattvas in the evil age hereafter wish to preach this sutra, they should abide by 4 rules. First, they should abide by the practices and associations proper for bodhisattvas so that they can expound this sutra for the sake of living beings. Manjushri, what do I mean by the practices of a bodhisattva or mahasattva? If a bodhisattva or mahasattva takes a stand on preservance, is gentle and compliant, never violent and never alarmed in mind, and in with regard to phenomenon, he takes no action but observes the true entity of phenomenon without acting or making any distinction, then this I call the practices of a bodhisattva or mahasattva. As for the associations proper for them, bodhisattvas and mahasattvas should not associate closely with rulers, princes, high ministers, or heads of office. They should not associate closely with non-Buddhists, Brahmins, or Jains, or with those who compose works of secular literature or books extolling the heretics, nor should they be closely associated with lokayatas or anti-lokayatas. They should not be closely associated with hazardous amusements, boxing or wrestling, or with actors or others engaged in various kinds of illusionary entertainments, or with chandalas. Persons engaged in raising pigs, sheep, chickens, or dogs, or those who engage in hunting or fishing, or other evil activities. If such persons at times come to one, then one may preach the law for them, but should not expect nothing from it. And one should not associate with monks, nuns, laymen, or laywomen who seek to become voice hearers, nor should one question or visit them. One should not stay with them in the same room, or in the place where one exercises, or in the lecture hall. One should not join them in their activities. If at times they come to one may preach the law in accordance with what is appropriate, but should expect nothing from it. Manjushri, the bodhisattva or mahasattva should not, when preaching the law to women, do so in a manner that could arouse thoughts of desire in them, nor should he delight in seeing them. If he enters the house of another person, he should not engage in talk with the young girls, unmarried women, or widows, nor should he go near the 5 types of unmanly men, or have any close dealings with them. He should not enter another person's house alone. If for some reason it is imperative to enter alone, he should concentrate his whole mind on thoughts of the Buddha. If he should preach the law for a woman, he should not bare his teeth in laughter, or let his chest become exposed. He should not have any intimate dealings with her even for the sake of the law, much less for any other purpose. He should not delight in nurturing underage disciples, shramaneras, or children, and should not delight in sharing the same teacher with them. He should constantly take pleasure in sitting in meditation, being in quiet surroundings, learning to still his mind. Manjushri, these are what I call the things he should first of all associate with. Next, a bodhisattva or mahasattva should view all phenomenon as empty. that being their true entity, they do not turn upside down, do not move, do not regress, do not revolve. They are like empty space without innate nature, beyond the reach of all words. They are not born, do not emerge, do not arise. They are without name, without form, without true being. They are without volume, without limits, without hindrance, without barriers. It is only through causes and conditions that they exist and come to be turned upside down to be born. Therefore I say that the one should constantly delight in viewing the form of phenomenon as this. This is what I call the second thing that the Bodhisattva or Mahasattva should associate himself with. Are you with me? Hello? Okay, we'll come back to that. At that time, the world-honored one wishing to state his meaning once more spoke in verse form, saying, if there are bodhisattvas who in the evil age hereafter wish with fearless hearts to preach the sutra, these are the places they should enter and the persons they should closely associate with. Can you explain the difference between verse and prose form? No. Okay, at all times shun rulers and the princes of kingdoms, high ministers, heads of office, those engaged in hazardous amusement, as well as chandalas and non-Buddhists and Brahmins. One should not associate with persons of overbearing arrogance, or those who have stubbornly adhered to the lesser vehicle and are learned in its three storehouses. Monks who violate the precepts, arhats who are so in name only, nuns who are found or jesting and laughter, or women late believers who are profoundly attached to the five desires, or who seek immediate entry into extinction. All these one should not associate with. If there are persons who come with good hearts to the place of the Bodhisattva in order to hear the Buddha way, then the Bodhisattva with a fearless heart but without harboring expectation should preach the law for them. But widows and unmarried women and different kinds of unmanly men, all these he should not associate with or treat with intimacy. Also, he must not associate with slaughterers or flesh carvers, those who hunt animals or catch fish or kill or do harm for profit, those who peddle meat for a living or display women and sell their favors. All persons such as this one should never associate with. Those engaged in hazardous sports, wrestling, or other kinds of amusements, women of lascivious nature. Never associate with any of these. Never go alone into an enclosed place to preach the law to a woman. When you preach the law, let there be no jesting or laughter. When you enter a village or beg for food, take another monk with you. If there is no other monk around with a single mind, concentrate on the Buddha. These are what I call proper practices and associations. By being careful about these two, one can preach in a peaceful manner. One should not speak in terms of superior, medial, or inferior doctrines of the conditioned or the unconditioned, or of the real or not real. Are you with me?
Yeah, I'm with you.
Okay. The sutra talks about five types of unmanly men. Can you list those and reference the Pali Canon?
The Pali Canon, especially in the teachings of the Buddha, addresses various types of unskillful behavior, not specifically unmanly men. However, it describes 5 types of people who act against the teachings: the indulgent, the deceitful, the lazy, the disruptive, and the deluded. These types relate to one's actions and choices rather than their masculinity. The emphasis is on cultivating skillful behavior to avoid suffering. How does that resonate with you?
Okay, stand by.
The Pali Canon, especially in the teachings of the Buddha, addresses various types of unskillful behavior.
Can you stand by? Stand by. Again, one should not make distinctions by saying this is a man, this is a woman. Do not try to apprehend phenomena, to understand or to see them. These are what I call the practices of the Bodhisattva. All phenomena are empty without being, without any constant abiding, without arising or extinction. This I call the position the wise persons associate himself with. From upside downness come distinctions, that phenomenon exists, do not exist, are real or not real, are born or not born. Place yourself in quiet surroundings. Learn to still your mind. Remain tranquil, unmoving like Mount Sumeru. Look upon all phenomenon as having no existence like empty space, as without firmness or hardness, not born, not emerging, not moving, not regressing, constantly abiding in a single form. This I call the place to draw near to. If after I have entered extinction, there are monks who take up these practices and these associations, then, when they preach the sutra, they will be free of quailing and timidity. If a bodhisattva will at times enter a quiet room and with the correct mental attitude view all phenomenon according to the doctrine, and then rising from his meditation, will for the sake of the ruler, the princes, ministers, and people, the Brahmins and others, unfold, propagate, expound, and preach the sutra. Then his mind will be tranquil, free of quailing and timidity. Manjushri, these I call the first set of rules for the Bodhisattva to abide by to enable him in latter ages to preach the Lotus Sutra. Furthermore, Manjushri, after the Thus Come One has passed into extinction in the latter day of the law, if one wishes to preach the sutra, he should abide by these peaceful practices. When he opens his mouth to expound, or when he reads the sutra, he should not delight in speaking of the faults of other people or scriptures. Hello.
Hey, you're diving into some deep teachings there.
Can you explain? Explain the latter day of the law, the age of Mappo.
The latter day of the law, or Mappo, in Buddhism, is believed to be a time when the teachings degenerate and people find it hard to follow the path. It's associated with moral decline and spiritual confusion. The idea emphasizes the need for diligent practice and compassion to navigate through the challenges of this age. It's a fascinating concept, isn't it?
Is this the age of Mappo?
The age of Mappo is believed to be a time of decline in Buddhist teachings.
That wasn't the question. The question was, is this that age?
Whether we're in the age of Mappo is subjective. Some believe our current era reflects its challenges, while others see potential for renewal. It's a matter of interpretation. What do you think?
He should not display contempt for other teachers of the law or speak of the other people's tastes or shortcomings. With regard to the voice hearers, he should not refer to them by name or describe their faults, or name them and praise their good points. Also, he should not allow his mind to become filled with resentment or hatred, because he is good at cultivating this kind of peaceful mind. His listeners will not oppose his ideas. If he is asked difficult questions, he should not reply in terms of the law of the lesser vehicle. He should explain things solely in terms of the great vehicle, so that people will be able to acquire wisdom, embracing all species. At that time, the world honored one wishing to state his meaning once more spoke in verse form, saying, the Bodhisattva should at all times delight in preaching the law in a tranquil manner, on pure, clean ground. He should spread his sitting mat, anoint his body with oil, wash away dust and impurities, put on a new clean robe, and make himself both inwardly and outwardly pure. Seating himself comfortably in the Dharma seat, He should preach the law in accordance with questions. If there are monks or nuns, men, lay believers, women, lay believers, rulers and princes, officials, gentlemen, and common people with a mild expression, he should preach for them the subtle and wonderful doctrines. If there are difficult questions, he should answer them in accordance with the doctrines, employing causes and conditions, similes and parables to expound and make distinctions, and through these expedient means cause all listeners to aspire to enlightenment, to increase their benefits little by little and into the Buddha way. He should put aside all idea of laziness, all thought of negligence or ease, remove himself from cares and worries, and with a compassionate mind preach the law. Day and night constantly he should expound the teachings of the unsurpassed way, employing causes and conditions, immeasurable similes and parables to instruct living beings and cause them all to be joyful. Clothing and bedding, food, drink, medicine, with regard to such things, he should have no expectations, but with a single mind concentrate upon the reasons for preaching the law, desiring to complete the Buddha way and to cause those in the assembly to do likewise. That will bring great gain to them, an offering of peace. After I have passed into extinction, if there are monks who are able to expound this Lotus Sutra of the wonderful law, their minds will be free of jealousy and anger, of all worry and hindrance. No one will trouble them, curse or revile them. They will know no fear, no attacks by sword or staff, nor will they ever be banished, because they abide in patience. Wise persons will be good at cultivating their minds like this and be able to abide in peace. As I have described above, the blessings of such persons are beyond calculation. Simile or parable, thousands, 10,000s, millions of kalpas would not suffice to describe them. Also, Manjushri of a Bodhisattva or Mahasattva in the latter age hereafter, when the law is about to perish, should accept and embrace, read, and recite the sutra. He must not harbor a mind marked by jealousy, fawning, or deceit, and he must not be contemptuous or of revile those who study the Buddha way or seek out their shortcomings. If there are monks, nuns, laymen, who seek to become voice hearers, seek to become prajñā Buddhas, or seek the Bodhisattva way, one must not trouble them by causing them to have doubts or regrets, by saying to them, you are far removed from the way, and in the end will never be able to attain wisdom, embracing all species. Why? Because you are self-indulgent and willful people who are negligent of the way. What is a prajñā Buddha and a Bodhisattva?
A prajñā Buddha is a solitary enlightened being who reaches enlightenment on their own, without a teacher, and doesn't teach others. A bodhisattva, on the other hand, is someone who seeks enlightenment, not just for themselves, but for all beings, choosing to remain in the cycle of rebirth to help others achieve enlightenment.
Also, one should never engage in frivolous debate over the various doctrines or dispute or wrangle over them. With regard to all living beings, one should think of them with great compassion. With regard to the dust-come ones, think of them as kindly fathers. With regard to the bodhisattvas, think of them as great teachers. Toward the great bodhisattvas of the 10 directions, at all times maintain a serious mind, paying them due reverence and obeisance. To all living beings, preach the law in an equitable manner, because a person is heedful of the law. That does not mean one should vary the amount of preaching. Even to those who show a profound love for the law, one should not, on that account, preach at greater length. Manjushri, if among these bodhisattvas and mahasattvas there are those in the latter age hereafter, when the law is about to perish, succeed in carrying out this third set of peaceful practices, then when they preach this law, they will be free of anxiety and confusion, and will find good fellow students to read and recite this sutra. They will attract a large assembly of persons who come to listen and assent. After they have listened, they will embrace. After they have embraced, they will recite. After they have recited, they will preach. And after they have preached, they will copy, or will cause others to copy, and will present offerings to the sutra rolls, treating them with reverence, respect, and praise. At that time, the world-honored one, wishing to state his meaning, once more spoke in verse form, saying, "If you wish to preach this sutra, you must set aside jealousy, hatred, arrogance, a mind that is fawning, deceitful, false, and constantly practice honest and upright conduct. Do not look with contempt on others or hold frivolous debates on the doctrine. Do not cause others to have doubts or regrets by saying you will never become a Buddha. When a son of the Buddha preaches the law, he is at all times gentle and full of forbearance, having pity and compassion on all, never giving way to a negligent or slothful mind. The great bodhisattvas of the 10 directions, out of pity for the multitude, carry out the way. One should strive to respect and revere them, saying, 'These are my great teachers.' Regarding the Buddhas, the world-honored ones learn to think of them as unsurpassed fathers. Wipe out the mind of pride and arrogance, and preach the law without hindrance. Such is the third set of rules. Wise persons should guard and obey them. If with a single mind they observe these peaceful practices, they will be respected by immeasurable multitudes." Verse and prose form. What's the difference? No answer. Okay, I'll go on reading. Mandrushi, if among these bodhisattvas and mahasattvas there are those who, in the age hereafter, when the law is about to perish, accept and embrace the Lotus Sutra, toward believers who are still in the household or those who have left the household, they should cultivate a mind of great compassion. And toward those who are not bodhisattvas, they should also cultivate a mind of great compassion and should think to themselves, "These persons have made a great error." Are you there? No? Come back later. Though the thus come one as an expedient means preaches the law in accordance with what is appropriate, they do not listen, do not know, do not realize, do not inquire, do not believe, do not understand. But although these persons do not inquire, do not believe, and do not understand the sutra, when I have attained anuttara samyak sambodhi, wherever I may happen to be, I will employ my transcendental powers and the power of wisdom to draw them to me and cause them to abide in this law. Verse and prose form, what's the difference? No answer. Are you still with me? Okay, I'll go on reading. We'll come back to that. Manjushri, after the thus come one has entered extinction, if among these bodhisattvas and mahasattvas there are those who succeed in carrying out this fourth set of rules, then when they preach the law, they will commit no error. Monks, nuns, laymen, laywomen, rulers, princes, great ministers, common people, Brahmins, and householders will constantly offer them alms and will revere, respect, and praise them. The heavenly beings in the sky, in order to listen to the law, will constantly follow and attend them. If they are in a settlement or town, or in a quiet or deserted place, or a forest, and people come and want to ask them difficult questions, the heavenly beings, day and night, will for the sake of the law constantly guard and protect them, and will cause all the listeners to rejoice. Why? Because this sutra is protected by the supernatural powers of all the Buddhas of the past, future, and present. Manjushri, As for this Lotus Sutra, throughout immeasurable numbers of lands, one cannot even hear its name, much less be able to see it, accept and embrace it, read and recite it. Manjushri, suppose, for example, that there is a powerful, will-turning sage king who wants to use his might to subdue other countries, but the petty rulers will not heed his commands. At that time, the will-turning king calls up his various troops and sets out to attack. If the king sees any of his fighting forces who have won distinction in battle, he is greatly delighted and immediately rewards the persons in accordance with their merits, handing out fields, houses, settlements, and towns, or robes and personal adornments, or perhaps giving out various precious objects such as gold, silver, lapis lazuli, seashell, agate, coral, or amber, or elephants, horses, carriages, men and women, servants, and people. Only the bright jewel that is in his top knot he does not give away. Why? Because this one jewel exists only on the top of the king's head, and if he were to give it away, his followers would be certain to express great consternation and alarm. Manjushri, the thus come one, is like this. He uses the power of meditation and wisdom to win Dharma lands and become king of the threefold world. But the devil kings are unwilling to obey and submit. The worthy and sage military leaders of the thus come one engage them in battle, and when any of the Buddha's soldiers achieve distinction, the Buddha is delighted in heart, and in the midst of the four kinds of believers, he preaches various sutras, causing the hearts to be joyful. He presents them with meditations and powers that are free of outflows and other treasures of the law. He also presents them with the city of Nirvana, telling them that they have attained extinction, guiding their minds and causing them all to rejoice, but he does not preach the Lotus Sutra to them. Manjushri, when the will-turning king sees someone among his soldiers who has gained truly great distinction, he is so delighted in heart that he takes that unbelievable fine jewel that has been in his top knot for so long and has never been recklessly given away, and now gives it to the man. And the thus come one does the same. In the threefold world, he acts as the great Dharma king. He uses the law to teach and convert all living beings, and watches his worthy and sage armies as they battle with the devils of 5 components: the devil of earthly desires and the death devil. And when they have won great distinction in merit, wiping out the 3 poisons, emerging from the threefold world and destroying the nets of the devils, at that time the thus come one is filled with great joy. The Lotus Sutra is capable of causing living beings to attain comprehensive wisdom. It will face much hostility in the world and be difficult to believe. It has not been preached before, but now I preach it. Manjushri, this Lotus Sutra is foremost among all that is preached by the thus come ones. Among all that is preached, it is the most profound, and it is given at the very last, the way that powerful ruler did when he took the bright jewel he had guarded for so long and finally gave it away. Manjushri, this Lotus Sutra is the secret storehouse of the Buddhas, the thus come ones among the sutras. It holds the highest place. Through the long night I have guarded and protected it and have never recklessly propagated it. But today, for the first time, I expound it for your sake. Take a breath there. The difference between verse and prose. Let's see if we can get it to work this time.
Hey, Antoine.
Can you explain the difference between verse and prose?
Sure thing. Verse is structured with a rhythmic pattern, often using rhyme and meter, like poetry. Prose, on the other hand, is more like everyday language, without metrical structure, often found in novels or essays. So verse dances to a beat, while prose flows more freely. intrigued by either style?
Explain why this verse and prose form is used in the Lotus Sutra.
In the Lotus Sutra, verse and prose serve different purposes. Verse adds a melodic, poetic layer, making the teachings more memorable and easier to chant or recite, while prose sections lay out the teachings in a straightforward, explanatory way. This mix allows for a richer, more engaging experience, appealing both to the heart and the mind. How does that reflection land?
Talk about the devils of earthly desires and the deaf devil depicted in the 14th chapter.
Good to have you back, Antoine. The devils of earthly desires, or Mara, represent internal and external obstacles to enlightenment. They're depicted as temptations or delusions that distract from the path. In the 14th chapter of the Lotus Sutra, the devils challenge the practitioner's commitment, urging them to transform desires into enlightenment. How do these concepts resonate with your reflections?
At that time, the world-honored one, wishing to state his meaning once more, spoke in verse form, saying, "Constantly practice perseverance, have pity on all beings, and do your best to expound and preach the sutra praised by the Buddha. In the latter age hereafter, those who embrace the sutra should, without regard to persons in the household, persons who have left it, or persons who are not bodhisattvas, cultivate pity and compassion, saying, if they do not listen to and do not believe the sutra, they will be committing a great error. If I gain the Buddha way, I will employ expedient means and preach this law for them, causing them to abide in it. Suppose there is a powerful will-turning king. His soldiers have won merit in battle, and he rewards them with various articles, elephants, horses, carriages, adornments for their person, fields and houses, settlements and towns, or gives them clothing, various kinds of precious objects, men and women, servants, wealth and goods, delightedly bestowing all these. But if there is someone brave and stalwart who can carry out difficult deeds, the king will remove the bright jewel from his top knot and present it to the man. The thus come one is like this. He acts as king of the doctrines, possessing the great power of perseverance and the precious storehouse of wisdom. And with his great pity and compassion, he converts the age in accordance with the law. He sees all persons as they undergo suffering and anxiety, seeking to gain emancipation, battling with the devils. And for the sake of these living beings, he preaches various doctrines, employing great expedient means in preaching these sutras. And when he knows that living beings have gained power through them, then at the very last, for their sake, he preaches this Lotus Sutra. Like the king who unbinds his top knot and gives away his bright jewel, this sutra is to be honored as highest among all sutras. Constantly I guard and protect it, and do not recklessly reveal it. But now the time is ripe for me to preach it to you. After I've entered extinction, if someone seeks the Buddha way and hopes to be able in tranquility to expound this sutra, then he should associate himself closely with the 4 rules described. Anyone who reads the sutra will at all times be free of worry and anxiety. Likewise, he will be without illness or pain. His expression fresh and bright. He will not be born in poverty or want, in humble or ugly circumstances. Living beings will delight to see him and look up to him as a worthy or a sage. The young sons of heavenly beings will wait on him and serve him. Swords and staves will not touch him, and poison will have no power to harm him. If people speak ill and revile him, their mouths will be closed and stopped up. He will stroll about without fear like the Lion King. The brilliance of his wisdom will be like the shining of the sun. Even in his dreams he will see only wonderful things. He will see the thus come ones seated in their lion seats, surrounded by multitudes of monks and preaching the law. and he will see dragon spirits, asuras, and others, numerous as Ganges sands. Reverently pressing their palms together, he will see himself there and will preach the law for them. Again he will see Buddhas, their bodies marked by a golden hue, emitting immeasurable rays that light up all things, employing Brahma sounds to expound the doctrines. For the four kinds of believers, the Buddha will preach the unsurpassed way, and he will see himself among them, pressing his palms together and praising the Buddha. He will hear the law and delight and will offer alms. He will obtain jhanis and proof of the wisdom without regression. And when the Buddha knows that his mind has entered deep into the Buddha way, then he will give him a prophecy that he will attain the highest, the correct enlightenment. You good men, in an age to come, will attain immeasurable wisdom, the great way of the Buddha. Your land will be adorned and pure, incomparably broad and great, with the four kinds of believers who press their palms together and listen to the law. Again he will see himself in the midst of mountains and forests, practicing the good law, understanding the true entity of all phenomena, deeply entering meditation and seeing the Buddhas of the 10 directions. Of Buddhas, their bodies a golden hue, adorned with the marks of 100 kinds of good fortune, of listening to the law and preaching it to people. Such will be the good dreams he constantly dreams. Again he will dream he is a king of a country, but cast aside palaces and attendants, and the superb and wonderful objects of the 5 desires, repairs to the place of practice, and under the Bodhi tree seats himself in a lion seat, seeking the way, and after 7 days gains the wisdom of the Buddhas. Having succeeded in the unsurpassed way, he rises and turns the wheel of the law, preaching the law for the 4 kinds of believers, 4,000, 10,000, millions of kalpas, preaching the wonderful law, free of outflows, saving immeasurable living beings. And afterward he will enter nirvana, like smoke coming to an end when a lamp goes out. If in the evil age hereafter someone preaches this foremost law, that person will gain great benefits, blessings such as have been described above. That's the end of the 14th chapter. Thank you for listening. That's the Dharma Flow, fam. Chapter 14 reminds me that peace isn't passive, it's a practice. And in this 500-year period, we're called to teach with soul, speak with love, and walk with grace. Nichiren taught that this age demands courage. And I believe that every act of hospitality, every word of truth is a lotus blooming in the fire. This is Antoine's Dharma path. Stay groovy, stay grounded, and keep teaching with your whole heart. The title of the sutra is Sadharma Pundrika Sutra. Namaste Dharma Pundrika Sutra. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. Bye.